Hello and welcome to Riffle Shuffle and Roll. My name is Mark, and today I'm going to teach you how to play my newest creation, Collapsi. This is a two-player abstract game that uses part of a regular deck of cards and anything you can grab for pawns. In this game, you will move around the board, and each card that you begin your turn from will collapse behind you. So as the game progresses, the board shrinks. The objective of the game is to be the last player able to make a legal move. That player is the winner. There's a little more to it than that, so let's dive in and learn how to play. In order to play Collapsi, you will need a 16 card deck. These 16 cards are taken from a regular playing card deck. You will need 4 aces, 4 twos, 4 threes, and then 2 fours and 2 jokers. The color of the number cards doesn't matter, but you do need your jokers to look different. And then you will need 2 pawns. The pawns can be anything handy. These 2 pawns came from the board game Sorry. So grab anything that is convenient, but they do need to look different, as each player will have their own pawn. To set up the game, shuffle the deck thoroughly, and then deal out a 4x4 grid like so. One player should secretly take the pawns in hand and offer their hands to the other player. That player chooses a hand, and then they will play as that color. Blue pawn goes on the colorless joker. Red pawn goes on the color joker, and the red player goes first. And again, if you do not have jokers, but you are using face cards like queens or kings or whatever to have 2 different starting spots, just make sure that everyone understands where their pawn begins after the deal. That way there's no confusion, jealousy, or hatred. On each player's turn, you must move your pawn. On your first turn, you may move your pawn up to 4 spaces. After that, you will be required to move your pawn a number of spaces equal to the number on the card from which you are starting your turn. Movement is orthogonal, meaning left to right or up and down, or a mix of those directions. Red goes first, so on their first turn, let's say they wanted to move 3 spaces. They could simply go left 3, 1, 2, 3, or they could use a combination of directions and go down 1, over 2, for example. Any combination of orthogonal movements equal to the number that they want to move is allowed. There are some rules for what you cannot do as the game progresses, and we'll see those in a moment. One more special rule about movement. In Collapsi, the board wraps around, and what you need to think of is a classic arcade game like Pac-Man, meaning that a piece may exit off the side and return onto the board on the opposite side within the same row. Or a piece can exit out the top or bottom and then re-enter at the opposite end of the same column. So for example, if player 1 wanted to move to this number 3 card, they could move 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, or they could do it in 2 moves like so, 1, 2, wrapping around from left to right. And moves like that will come in handy as the board collapses, and we'll see what that means here in a little bit. So for our first move, the red player wants to move 3. So they'll go 1, 2, 3, and they land on the ace. When a player leaves their starting card, they must flip it over. That card has now collapsed. It can no longer be passed through or landed on. Essentially, it is a wall. What that also means is now players can no longer wrap around in this row, because the side card, the edge card, is collapsed. That ends player 1's turn. Now it's player 2's turn. They are going to move up here to this 4 and collapse their card. Back to player 1. Since they're on the ace represents a 1. They must move 1 space. So they will go ahead and move to this 4. collapsing the card that they started from. Back to player 2. They have to move 4 spaces. They cannot wrap around from left to right anymore, and they cannot wrap around from top to bottom in this column because of these collapsed cards. But they still have some options for wrapping around if they choose to do so by moving into a different row or a different column. All right, so for a move of 4, their opponent here, they are going to go ahead and move to this one. 1, 2, 3, 4. And they will collapse the card. Back to player 1. They must also move 4. They are going to go ahead and wrap around. 1, 2, 3, 4. Collapse their card. Notice that they moved through a card that has their opponent's pawn on it. That is fine. However, a player cannot land on a card and finish their turn when that card is occupied by their opponent. All right, now there are also 2 more rules governing what you can and cannot do while moving that I didn't get to illustrate here in the video, but I do want to point them out. First, you may not pass through the same card more than once while you're moving on your turn. So for example, a player can't just, like if this player needs to move 3, they can't just go 1, 2, 3 and land on a card they've passed through, or even pass through the card again. That will keep players from just bouncing back and forth on the same cards. You must have one continuous path through different cards. Also, you cannot end your turn on the card from which you started. Now, technically, that card has collapsed the moment you left it, so it's ineligible for landing on. So for example, if the red player starts here on a 2, they cannot go 1, 2 back onto the card from which they started, because that card has collapsed the second they leave it. So the only legal moves they have would be to move to this ace, actually. So it's player 2's turn. They need to move 3. They cannot move on to this ace because it has their opponent's pawn on it. So they move 3. They are, they're going to go ahead and move 1, 2, 3. All right, let's go ahead and complete the game. Those are all the basic rules. So player 1's turn, they have to move 1. Their only option is that number 2. Player 2 is going to go ahead and move 1 to here. Collapse that card. Player 1's turn again. They must move 2. Their only option is to move here. 1, 2. I think player 2 is going to trap player 1. So they will move 1 right here. No, they're not. This player moves 2. So 1, 2. And our player 2 here has to move 2. So they go 1, 2. That was a legal move. And now player 1 is trapped because they have to move 3 spaces and they are unable to do so. So the game ends and player 2 is the winner. The last player able to make a legal move wins the game. All right, let's go ahead and go through one more quick example here so you can see some more gameplay. Red goes first, and their focus is going to be basically staying away from blue. So we'll have them start by moving 4, and I want them to end out up here. There we go. So we're going to collapse that card. Now player 2 goes. They're going to follow red around, kind of harass them a little bit. Hopefully not get stuck. Now red's turn. They must move 1. So they are going to go ahead and move to this 4. Player 2 must move 2. And they could end up over here on the ace. They could go to the 3. They could go down to the 3 and end up at 3 anyways. So, we're going to have them actually, we're going to do this. Change of strategy here. 1, 2. So they wrapped around to the 2 and then wrapped around to the ace. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. They can get over to the ace at least. 1, 2, 3, and 4. They're going to stay up here. Blue's turn. They have to move 1. And I think they're going to apply some pressure here. Red's turn. They must move 1. They're going to go here. Blue's turn. Must move 1. And yep, they're going to apply some more pressure here. Get right up in Red's face. Red's turn. 1, 2. Now Blue's turn. They must move 3. And they're going to go down to this 2. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, here's where I believe Red has the game won. So they'll go 1, 2, 3. Push that off. Blue must move 2, 2. And then Red must move 2. So 1, 2. All right. And Red wins the game. And that's how to play Collapsi. Now, if you would like a printable rules sheet, I've got a link for you down in the description. That will take you over to my new home on itch.io. There you'll be able to read devlogs for the games that I make or any news that I have to post, and you will be able to download the rules for my games. And also, attached to this video is my fundraiser for Toys for Tots. We've already hit the first goal of $500. All the money that is donated goes directly to Toys for Tots. It does not go through YouTube. They don't get a cut. I don't get a cut. It goes directly to who you're donating it to. My new goal for the year is 1,000, and I'm going to match that. So at this point, I can still match what we've raised, which is pretty cool. And I'm excited to hit that goal. And if we hit 1,000, it's going to go up again. So let's keep moving forward on that and help make Christmas awesome for kids that aren't quite so lucky. If you found this video helpful, be sure to let me know by giving this video a thumbs up, subscribe, ring the bell if you're new to the channel, and leave a comment down below, especially if you play this game and you want to share your thoughts. Did you enjoy it? Does it need work? Do you have some rule ideas? Because one thing that I like about this game is its potential for modularity. You can, of course, change the cards that are in your board. That you can change the size of the board. Instead of 4x4, you could have 5x5, 6x6, or an odd shaped board. All of that is possible, and it's really up to you to play with the rules a little bit, try new things. During my development, we did try a lot of things. We tried special power cards, we tried double-sided cards, and what we found was that the best place to start, at least, is with the basic game. I call this the vanilla version. Can this be played with multiple players? Yes, I do believe if you add a third player, you make the board 5x5. If you add a fourth player, make the board 6x6. But I think that, as with most abstract games, this works best with only 2. Especially since it is kind of a knockout game. Because once a player is trapped and unable to move, they are out. So now they're sitting there watching the rest of the people play and waiting for the game to end so they can play again. And that's not always the best scenario. All right, with all that said, thank you so much for watching. And until next time, keep on playing.